Our very first story, the fate of the NDC Delegates Congress slated for Saturday, December 20 hangs in the balance. An Accra High Court on Monday failed to pronounce judgment on an injunction suit placed on the process by Member of Parliament for Afram Plains North and aspiring national organizer of the party, Emmanuel Didier. The aspiring organizer of the party is seeking an injunction on the process for what he describes as his unfair disqualification from the race.
Emmanuel Didier, through his counsel, is praying the court to restrain the NDC from proceeding with its National Delegates Congress. Lead counsel for the NDC, Kojoga Adaudo, in an affidavit in opposition, urged the court to strike out the motion since it lacked merit. Lawyer for the plaintiff, Bright Obimenu, after a lengthy argument with opposing counsel, requested for more time to study the affidavit filed by the NDC after earlier complaints of not having enough time to peruse opposing counsel's response since it had been made available to him only on Monday. The court thus granted the call and subsequently adjourned the case to Thursday, December 18. Speaking to Joy News after proceedings, Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the NDC, Joseph Ni Adekoka, said the action taken by the Afram Plains North MP sparks of a deliberate act of sabotage by certain persons.
We believe that something untoward is happening. We believe that it's an attempt to derail the NDC from going ahead to have his Congress.
So you think it's a deliberate ploy by certain people, even within the NDC, to sabotage the party?
I wouldn't say within the NDC, but I believe this is an attempt to derail the Congress of the NDC, because I suppose the plaintiff should have been ready for the case to be heard today, so that we don't run out of time. But if the way I saw in court, I realized probably there was an attempt to ensure that the case that not be heard, and probably that will lead to the Congress not taking place.
Meanwhile, counsel for the NDC, Kojoga Adaudu, is confident the party will have the case restored to normalcy when the court sits on Thursday.
A few issues we have raised, he has not seen. He has to have conference with his client and will be able to respond to those issues. But we argued that it is documents that we have attached are documents that are in their domain. What they have put before court and what we have also put before court, and looking at the principles by which the court would have to look at, we believe that, yes, the court will be favorable to us by dispensing the application and allow us to go on.
The National Democratic Congress, having postponed the date for its National Congress a number of times already, is hoping to elect new executive officers for the party on Saturday, December 20 at the Babayara Sports Stadium.
Parliament, where the NPP minority in Parliament has accused government of using the new Youth Employment Bill 2014 as a conduit to create and loot state resources for its 2016 electioneering campaign. At a press conference in Parliament, Deputy Minority Leader Dominic Nitiwo said documents available to them indicate that service providers recruited under JIDA have failed to return monies illegally paid to them, totaling 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. He also indicated that the new bill before Parliament has failed to address loopholes that enabled corruption to thrive under JIDA.
Ranking member for the Youth and Sports Committee and member of Parliament for Ichima in Kunua, Isaac Esiama, first indicated that the bill must be withdrawn. According to him, the bill in its current state makes room for corruption to fester and called on the Employment Minister to withdraw the document and redraft it. He explained that the normal practice is for every bill to be accompanied by an explanatory memorandum setting out in details the policy and principles of the bill, but that is lacking in the new Youth and Employment Bill.
When the information of the report became public earlier, the government denied its content, but later handed it over to the PV or Base Committee for a review of the contents. At the moment, the fear is whether the sanctity, the integrity and credibility of the report has not been compromised. The question to us is whether this is the revised standard version or otherwise an edited version of the GANS report by the Obeyance Committee or what. Be it as it may, the minority feels obliged to respond to the so-called final report of the Ministerial Impact Assessment and Review Committee on GIDA.
He further stated that the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurship Development Agency, GIDA, is suffering from what he calls internal bleeding because of government's mismanagement of the corruption-riddled program, which was designed to reduce unemployment.
When you consider the bill that is before Parliament, government needs 578 million next year to do the project. So one will ask, if you have 1.5 billion sitting somewhere, why don't you go for that money? That will be able to cover for next year's expenditure. 3 years. Even 3 years, 3 years expenditure. That amount that has been stolen would be able to cover for 3 years expenditure of this program. So that is the issue. So why don't you go and chase that money? They are there. And as you speak, Parliament has not been briefed about any action so far been taken by the government to retrieve the money as we speak.
The minority recently accused government of seeking to legalize graft at the agency through the GIDA bill. The lawmakers claim the current content of backing to the agency's fight against joblessness will not address the many challenges and loopholes that helped certain individuals and institutions to milk the organization through corrupt deals. When passed into law, the bill is envisaged to support the operations of the agency.
We're still sticking with Parliament, where the House has approved the budget estimate for the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, the Office of the Head of the Civil Service and the National Media Commission. Several other papers, including the report of the Finance Committee on the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy and Internal Revenue Amendment Bills, were also laid in the House.
There was debate on the floor of Parliament on the relevance of the Ministries of Fisheries and Aquaculture to the country's development.
We want to construct 2 fishing harbours in Accra and Elmina, and also develop 25 fish landing sites, both marine and inland, at various fishing communities. The Speaker, given these items and projects in mind, we think that the total amount allocated to the fisheries ministries is not enough, but nevertheless, I guess that is what has been allocated.
If the fishery industry is to grow, in my view, the amount allocated in the ministry will not be able to help that ministry to go the way we want it, because it is done the way we all want it, we all hope. Employment generation and also foreign exchange earnings, and among other things, will be recognized. But where few money is given to that industry, then the food security that we are all looking for, we are all aiming for, will not be achieved. So
I realized that there will be management problems for the coastals. So we have put in place a program to develop management plan and also engage a technical person to support the district assemblies to run the coastals. Concerning the lack of technical personnel, Mr. Speaker, as a new ministry, we intend to provide the Ministry of Finance with the caliber, the skill of personnel that we need to achieve the 2015 objectives.
The House also underscored the importance of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service to the overall function of the government machinery budget, but it was not without some debate.
In the past, when we thought about the Head of the Civil Service, your mind went to them controlling, supervising all the ministries. It's no longer the case. In fact, if I'm correct, we are talking about less than 25,000 people. GES alone is over 300,000. Health services more. So I'm asking, what do we think about the civil service now? The fact that their functions are being whittled away.
Other budget estimates, including the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General's Department, were also approved.
So if you just joined us, it's Top News at 8 on Joy News. We'll be back with more news. From Kumasi to Bonyase, one of the 6 witch camps in the northern region of Ghana. It's actually located in Bonyase and has been closed down. Over 50 alleged witches are expected to be reintegrated into communities of their choice, increasing the total number of reintegrated victims from 199 to 249 over the past year. Now, Sarah Abla D'Souza has this report.
The community of Bonyase in the northern region has housed quite a number of women and men who have been accused of witchcraft. Right now it houses about 5 accused witches at the Bonyase witch camp, which is right behind me. We are here to look at the reintegration process since this place is going to be disbanded. We're going to look at the reintegration process. We want to speak to the priestess of this shrine, who also doubles as the queen of this community. We want to talk to her. We want to also speak to the women who have been accused of witchcraft. We'll go through the purification process and we'll also engage the mood of the accused witches. Are they really interested in going home? Do they want to go home? Do they think they are going to be accepted? Are they really ready for this? Is the priestess certain that this is what has to be done? We entreat you to stay with us as we interrogate these issues and as we kind of take you through the Bonyase witches camp. 6 fowls each for each woman, 2 each killed, a goat, 12 pieces of kola nut, a mat. The process has gone on with 5 women freed of witchcraft. The purification process is done now, so they are going to be sent to homes in the community just to signify the kind of reintegration. Tradition still stands, witchcraft is still there.
When I came here, I came and met 6 other persons, and I came to be the 7th person. All the other 6 have been taken home. I am the only one still here. It means that I am the senior here. She's just saying that being called a witch is something else. She doesn't know how to explain how being called a witch is, because she can hardly sleep because she's been labeled as a witch. As she sits here, she knows definitely she will also die. So why then will she want to take away somebody's life untimely? It's something she doesn't have a heart to even do. But here is the case. She has been accused as a witch. I'll be staying with my uncle when I am finally sent home from here.
Expect details of that in our subsequent bulletins. Now, Ghana's highly respected HIV ambassador Joyce Chijo-Mensah says she never tested positive for HIV. She says she was only telling the nation and the world a lie to advocate against stigmatization of persons living with HIV.
I myself haven't gotten any medical proof to say he died of AIDS. All that we all knew was he died of AIDS.
And then the story is started.
Yes. I have tested several times.
And what was the result?
Non-reactive, meaning I don't have HIV. It doesn't really matter. There are people who have done HIV adverts and they were never positive. our mother, the First Lady, is now appointed as the HIV ambassador. It doesn't mean she's positive. There's no way anyone would have given me platform to say, people are pointing fingers at me that I have HIV and I don't have, so please let me talk. Who will give me that platform? But the moment I said I'm HIV positive, people gave me platform. I was selling my CDs after programs to be able to feed myself and to feed my kids. I have never received any funding from anyone. I want to make this clear to you. The first time I went to Amsterdam, a pastor took me there. The second time was an NGO, they invited me. It is now because the time has come for me to say it. Many people in this country don't even know where to go when they are HIV positive. Some got to know their status because they wanted to travel and they were asked to do HIV tests and they were positive. Some went voluntarily because they heard me speak. And then after they realized they were positive, I don't know how, but they didn't know where to go. They call me on a daily basis. I even pick some of them. Nobody gives me transportation to do that.
So watch the full interview on PM Express with Nanansa Kwao tonight at 9 p.m. Now, reactions from the Ghana AIDS Commission, and the Commission insists former HIV/AIDS ambassador Joyce Jijo-Mensah in 2007 tested positive for HIV. This, according to the Commission, informed their decision to recruit her as an HIV/AIDS ambassador to champion its heart-to-heart campaign. Now, the Commission has also indicated that it has a documented evidence of her HIV status at the various health centers she, together with the other ambassadors, accessed treatments. The AIDS Commission explained that the key requirements for heart-to-heart ambassador duty was for the person to be HIV positive and on treatment. It further said the person should also have been an advocate voluntarily on HIV-related issues in their communities with focus on HIV prevention, treatment and reduction of stigma and discrimination. It has, however, given indications that it will launch investigations to clarify Joyce Jijo-Mensah's claims about her HIV status, after which appropriate action will be taken. So let's hear from the USAids, and the USAids Agriculture Project Feed the Future has improved stakeholder farmers' access to credit in the northern part of the country. At a dialogue organized by the U.S. Embassy in collaboration with the Ghana News Agency, it emerged the farmers now have a better chance of getting loans from financial institutions.
Financial institutions often avoid giving loans to agriculture enterprises because of the high risk of recovery. A study suggests the agriculture sector recorded a 25.7% default out of a total loan debt of 22 billion cedis as at the end of July 2014. However, through USAids Feed the Future project, which started in 2009, some farmers in the north are able to access loans to grow more food.
We estimated that we increased smallholder access to financial credit just in the small confines of our actor group, which was about 36,000 farmers. That number was about $2 million. I think most people are seeing a turning point now, if you want to call it that. I'm using the term conservatively, because I think some people are still looking at access to financial credit as being dismally low. But we see it increasing at a rapid rate with certain banking institutions, some faster than others.
USAID attributes the positive response to training as well as a $1.3 million grant some financial institutions are receiving.
Because in the north, they plow on credit and then they pay bullets at harvest. So it means that if you plow for somebody, you need to wait for about 3 or 4 months. At harvest, then you take it in kind, and then you sell to pay back the bank. Most of these financial institutions lack what it takes to investigate and actually design products that will fit into these things. So that's what USAID FinGap is doing. Since we started last year, we've been training a lot of financial institutions in a wide spectrum of areas, which we believe that will facilitate access to finance in agribusiness.
Targeting staples such as maize, soya, and rice, the project seeks to raise farmers' income through agribusiness whilst improving food security.
We've linked those processors who often are running at less than efficient capacity to sources of food, the rice, the soya, and maize. So the processors are very interested in sourcing. We're linking them to farmers who have it. We try to commercialize that relationship, and I think everybody's slowly beginning to get comfortable with the trust that you have to have.
USAID projects a total of $690 million net income for households in the North by 2017, when the program is expected to end, mainly through increased sales of the targeted crops.
Away from agriculture, let's now do some talking about this important commodity called power. And Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy and Minister Designate for the country's newly created Power Ministry, Dr. Kwabena Donkor, says one of his priorities as the Minister of Power will be to refocus the Electricity Company of Ghana to be more commercial in its operations, while ensuring that monies due the state's only power distributor are duly recovered. He further mentioned the need to refocus the power needs of the country towards industry. He made these comments at a 4-hour vetting exercise in Parliament on Monday.
With the country currently enduring a load shedding exercise due to insufficient power generation, the President's announcement of a new power ministry seemed the way out of darkness for many. Newly appointed Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor says he hopes to achieve this by collaborating with energy experts from both the majority and minority. On the issue of prioritizing the power needs, Dr. Kwabena Donkor said emphasis should be placed on industry in order not for productivity to be affected. He added that his focus is for state agencies, including district assemblies, to defray debts owed the Electricity Company of Ghana.
Every MDA, except hospitals and security installations, should be responsible for paying the electricity bills, and not only that, they should be put on prepaid meters. In 2009, the Ministry of Energy was put on prepaid meters. All ministries, and now all ministries, because that is the way forward. The Ministry of Finance is saying that every entity has a budget and they should pay their meters. They don't pay, and including ministerial bungalows, they don't pay, and then it's put together as MDA debt and expect Ministry of Finance to say pay. The minister says, I won't pay for somebody's debt because you're all giving budgets. ECG should put every ministry, every agency, bungalows on prepaid. Be responsible for your own. That way we avoid this phantom government debt.
He further shared with members of the Parliamentary Vetting Committee of his approach to lifting the country out of darkness.
Mr. Speaker, in terms of the power outages that we have going forward, there are immediate plans, short-term plans, and then medium to long-term plans. The immediate is about plant availability and fuel. For example, to us today, Ghana Gas is pushing 52 million standard cubic feet of gas today. They have the capacity to ramp up to 60 today. They have not been able to ramp up because there's no plant to take the fuel. So the immediate solution is about fuel availability and plant availability. Some of the plants are down for maintenance, a few are down for unplanned maintenance.
Some members of Parliament present at the vetting were, however, skeptical of an improvement in the country's power sector. Samuel Atachia is Member of Parliament for Ibuakwa South.
Cannot see much changing, you see, because I'm of the view that it is not a new ministry that will bring qualitative changes. But what is very important is what is needful to be done. What if the new ministry is not properly resourced to bring about a change? Then it becomes a mere window dressing, that when we have crisis, let's create a ministry, as if the creation of a ministry will solve the problem. It wouldn't.
Up next is the business segment with Abigail Admakuma Inchi.
It's now time to get you updated in business. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Now, the country adopted a public-private partnership policy, PPP, in 2011 to get the private sector to invest their money and also expertise in the development of critical infrastructure in all parts of the country. Now, the PPP is said to be different from other forms of government and private sector arrangements, such as joint ventures, outsourcing or privatization. But how far has the public and private partnership gone, and when will the policy be made law? I caught up with Madeleine Apinting, Director of the Public Investment Division of the Finance Ministry.
Has touted the private sector as being efficient over the period of time, and government has come to the realization that it is time to actually fully engage the private sector. However, before we can do this, we need to actually prepare these projects effectively and ensure that as the private sector comes on board, they'll come in with their exceptional technology and transfer technology to the public sector, and ensure that these projects are undertaken and the services are provided in an efficient and transparent manner. Indeed, some of the guiding principles of the PPP include value for money. The government would like to see value for money in all the projects and the services that are provided by the private sector. We also want to ensure that the public is also have the ability to actually pay for these services that are provided by the public sector. We're also looking at technology transfer in terms of bringing the technology that the private sector has to bear to the public sector, and also to maintain these the services and the infrastructure that is provided over a period of time in a timely manner and in an efficient manner.
Now, people quite get the two PPP and privatization confused. What exactly is the difference between the two?
Well, with privatization, the government sells an entity, or the private sector buys off from government a service or an infrastructure to provide. With the PPP, the private sector provides a service over a period of time, and after that period of time, the service or the infrastructure is transferred back to the public sector in a certain state and condition that is usually defined in the agreements and the contracts. Indeed, in other countries, they do not use laws. They go by the policy, and they are able to actually use the policy to enforce most of the processes that take place before a PPP project comes to fruition. So we are looking at the possibility of having the law done as quickly as possible, and I'm sure it will be in the best interest of the country whenever this is done.
How do you reconcile this policy with the law that comes to full force?
Well, the law
because the projects are already in place.
The law is based on the policy. So basically the law is just a fuller and a full view of the policy, taking into consideration all the other issues that may come on board. It looks fully at the administrative aspect of it, it looks at the legal issues, and looks at the roles of several institutions that are mentioned in the policy. Somebody might say that the process that we follow is too lengthy, but it is all to ensure that some of these issues never arise. And I would therefore urge the Ghanaians to be very patient. Ghana is not doing it for the first time, or it's not doing it alone. There is international best practice, and we are learning from international best practice. So whatever processes that we are putting in place is because this has been done elsewhere, and one way or the other, this is the process that has been found to be more efficient.
Let's start sports talking about the African Cup of Nations, because we are 34 days to that. The next Black Stars captain, Stephen Appiah, says Ghana will survive the group of death at next year's African Cup of Nations. The Black Stars will battle former winners Algeria and South Africa, as well as the informed Senegal in Group C at next year's showpiece. Despite Ghana's poor form of late, Stephen Appiah is optimistic they will scale the hurdles in Mongomo.
When Germany, Brazil, Spain, and the rest, they were going to the World Cup, they didn't. We didn't hear them saying that they are going to win the World Cup. You understand? So I think that's one thing that we have to talk about. I think at times we have to be humble enough to put our feet down. Because you going to the World Cup and everybody was talking, we are going to win the World Cup. Ghana is going to win the World Cup. Of course, we have the goal that we're going to win, but we have to be humble. We don't have to make noise of it, because the teams that they win the World Cup, they don't go there and they say that, oh, we are going to win the World Cup. And it's like, I always tell the boys that when you're going to play a tournament, you don't have to even think about the second game. For instance, In our group, we have South Africa, Senegal, and Algeria. When we're going to play against Algeria, South Africa and Senegal, they don't exist. So you have to take it match after match. So we have to start being humble and think about these things.
Okay, so we keep in touch with that. Not too sure who is going to make the squad for the Black Stars. Avon Grant is currently in Italy. It is likely he's going to meet the likes of Suleiman Tari and Kevin Prince Boasing. We'll see what happens from then. Now, the Ghana Football Association's application to have the interlocutory injunction on the annual Congress lifted was squashed today by an Accra High Court, who have now scheduled December 22 for the final ruling on the legal tussle which has stalled the start of next season's Ghana Premier League. King Faisal are in court battling the FA after losing an appeal challenging their relegation from the Premier League, and have indicated their readiness to get into that one and ensure the right thing is done. So now the new date is December 22nd. That's just a week from today. We'll have an idea of who has won this tussle, and we can know if the Ghana Premier League could start at least before the African Cup of Nations gets underway in Equatorial Guinea next year.